I just like to dive in. I go right for it. I don't wait because people watching the replay are like, do something. I'm not
I
just because
know.
you're waiting doesn't mean that I'm waiting. So I don't do that whole thing. So I am here tonight. Well, at least it's tonight with me, and hopefully this new coming on time is helpful for Australians. It's 9 a.m. And I talked to them this morning and it was at nighttime there. So I'm wondering if I'm going to see any of them flip.
Right. So, that's so strange.
I know. It's so interesting. And hello. And can you see the comments, Bryn?
Yes, I can. I see Sandy and Sandra and Joanne and Denise. Yes. So this is really cool.
Right? Isn't that nice? Yes. Oh, and there is someone from Australia. Hello, Australia. I know. I'm trying to come on wonky time so I can hit different people in different areas. So hello, Barbara's coming in. Connie is here from Michigan. Lindo from Orlando. I love the world presence.
That is so cool.
So cool. I know. So I have a special guest with me this evening, and her name is Bryn. Bryn, I asked my husband, because he works with people all over the world as well. He has teams in China and India, all over the place. And I showed him your last name, and I was like, you work with people from all over the world. So how do you say this last name? And he was like, oh, that's Nguyen, right? So wait for it. Is that right?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So go Sean. He told me.
I mean, actually in Vietnam, they say it a little bit differently.
Yeah,
but I can't even.
Okay.
I've tried saying it. My husband's like, no, just stick with it.
Just don't go there. Oh my God. That's
I don't even know how to really pronounce my last name.
Okay.
But yeah. My maiden name was Phillips, but.
Well, I just feel really bad. So Jeanette, who works very closely with me, so her last name is spelled Sail, and she's right here. So I've been referring to her as Jeanette Salib for 100 million years. And then finally she was like, it's actually Salib. And I was like, I'm super embarrassed because I've said your name wrong this whole time. Hi, Jeanette, by the way. So I didn't want to come. And I've been mentioning you more and more because you're a very big presence in the Facebook group. And I've known you for a really long time. And then I've been saying Bryn Nguyen. And then I know, it's so cute. But then I just watched, it was literally yesterday, I was watching a YouTube video or a Facebook ad or something, and someone had the same last name and she pronounced it differently.
Oh, well, I think it's regional too.
Okay. It was really close, but it was it was definitely 2 syllables. And then I was like, shit, Sean, did he tell it to me?
Was it Nguyen or?
No, and she was Asian. So it wasn't and it was really close to him, but it was almost like Wingen or something really. Yeah. It was so interesting. But then I got mad at Sean. I'm like, did he tell me the wrong way? And I've been saying your name publicly out loud. Okay, good. So I'm just
right.
I'm just glad it was right. Okay. I like that.
Well, yeah, I know. When I was getting married, I did not like that, but
yeah, that shift is always difficult.
But I'm over it now.
I know. Well, I always have to say Campbell, and a lot of people don't know the P and the B, they get confused. So I just say Campbell, the soup. And weirdly, that's enough for everybody. I very rarely have to actually spell it out, and they just know from the soup.
I have to spell out my last name multiple times. And my first too, because not everyone knows my first either.
I always like to put a little extra N on there sometimes. I'm like,
one N.
So the reason I always have to tell stupid stories. The reason that I have Bryn on is because I have known her for a really long time. But she is an amazing artist, period. However, I feel like we share very similar stories, Bryn, because we were both not always amazing artists.
No.
And we didn't start out that way, right?
No.
So it's easy, I think, to look at, I have a really good before. I have your before and after. Did you bring any artwork with?
Yeah, I do. I have piles around me.
Amazing. Okay, go. We're gonna need to see that. So I just think if you're new to the Facebook group and you're looking at Bryn's posts, and if you search Bryn in the Facebook group, all you're going to be showered with the most amazing, beautiful artwork you've ever seen, and then you're going to kind of hate her a little bit on the inside because it's ridiculous, and why can't you do things like that? But I brought her on because I wanted her to share a little bit of her story, because she didn't start off that amazing. She came and worked her way to that point. And I think it's really inspirational. I think it's really educational for people to understand, hey, this isn't just something that people are born with. This is something that people learn, and it's something that people that really work really hard to achieve. Just like a lot of other things in life that seem impossible, that are not, once you just have a few skills. So Bryn, that's your introduction. Can you give us like maybe your background, and feel free to like show us your artwork if you have props to any part of your story that would help illustrate. We are your wrapped
right
audience.
Well, I don't know how far back you want me to go, but I was not a artist growing up at all by any means. I liked art, I like crafts, and I've always been very crafty, but I never considered myself good at art. There was always that kid in the classroom that was good at art, and I was never that kid. No one ever looked at my art, nothing, just pretty adequate, and age appropriate for what I was, in school. And then, when I was in high school, I'm going to bring this book up because it was really kind of switched my thinking. When I was in high school, I was at the library and I checked out a book called Drawing on the Right Side of the Brain. And I was like, huh. And it really kind of opened my eyes to how an artist sees the world. And I didn't ever know that that's like a process that people actually do in their brains when they're drawing. So that kind of got me kind of interested in a little bit of art. And so I took an art class in high school, but again, it was just kind of observational art, nothing big deal. And then in college, I did a little more of that. And I actually ended up minoring in art, but I never, ever took a life drawing class, and I never took a face drawing class. It was just kind of like oil painting and still lifes and things like that, which was actually quite boring.
Yeah.
Painting traits over and over and over and over and over is boring. It was really, really boring. It was not a fun minor at all. But I took what I learned there. And when I was in elementary school, well, actually middle school teacher, I taught 5th, 6th grade. I would teach art to my students. But again, it was more observational. We delved into faces, but it was very, very, very basic. It was not my strong suit at all because I never took a life drawing class for the life of me. So that was always, anyway, so fast forward, I left my teaching profession when I had my daughter 7 years ago. And then when my daughter was about 3 years old, she went into preschool, and I wanted something to do. And I have things to do, but I always wanted to learn how to draw people and faces because I was just not good at it. And so I started looking online, and eventually that led me to you. And that's kind of where my journey into life drawing and drawing faces and whimsical drawings. And I like that about whimsical drawings, that it wasn't realistic because it took the pressure off. Realistic drawing is just so stressful. So, it's attainable.
I know. I totally.
But it takes a lot of time, and I don't really want to do that so much. So I try to, anyway. That's kind of my journey in a nutshell.
Yeah. Mine is really similar. Like, it's weirdly similar. It really is. But I'm not here to talk about me tonight, I just was in the same boat where I was like, I had like little dances with art, but then it was quickly like, whatever. Like art was like it was an easy elective, whatever,
Right.
I took photography in college.
So did I.
Yeah. Did you? And like, that's the only art class
I got a B.
I know. My teacher was not impressed with my work. Let's just put it that way. And then, it's like, you don't go to school to be an artist. My parents were like, yeah, that's not like a thing that you do.
Right.
So,
I had an art minor only because I took enough art classes that I was like, I might as well minor. in it. But I find it funny that I have this art minor with very minimal art skills.
That's really funny, interesting that you say that, because for example, I know quite a few people that like majored or minored in art, and I feel like and one particular person I'm thinking of right now is Mandy Brown, and I don't know if she's visiting her brother right now, traveling. So I hope she's not watching this right now. She's hugging her squishy baby nieces and nephews instead. But she, I know, was I think she majored in communications, but she minored in art. And when we started working together, she was like, you know, like, Karen, God, I never learned shading of faces. I never learned how to do that. Like, she was like looking at what I was doing, and I don't consider anything I do like art school. I never went to art school, so I don't even know what they do there. But when I think of art school, I think like fancy and like, you know, like you can create anything and you learn all these things, and
they really don't teach you anything.
That's what she was telling me too. No, that's exactly what she was telling me. She's like, what you're teaching, you don't learn in art school. Like, I didn't learn that in art school, which I just find fascinating.
Right. I took a lot of oil painting classes, and I loved painting in oils at the time, but all of it was like really self-learned. I set up my oils in class, and I remember my friend who happened to be a year ahead of me in art, she taught me what she learned in oils, but the instructor just kind of was like, here, paint this. Mm-hmm. And there was no, it was actually quite frustrating.
I know. I know exactly what you mean. I have been taking painting classes just on the side. Like when my kids were really tiny, and I got into painting just because I was like needed an escape. And then I would take a class from a local person who would have like open studio time or something.
Right.
And I found that especially painters who paint intuitively, I would be very frustrated student, because I was like, tell me what color to put and where to put it, and I'll put it. And they would be like, and now I dab the turquoise under the red. I'm like, but why? Like, but why are you doing that? And like, I just felt so obnoxious. So I wouldn't say anything because I didn't want to be like that student. So I would just sit there and watch. And then I was like, I don't understand a single decision that they just made. They made something amazing, and I don't understand how any of it works. Like, it just made me feel worse and less capable, because they were like, oh, their like amazing talent was like always on display. And I think having a lot of classes, we talked about this right before we pushed the live button, which was taking classes from a lot of teachers who just hold back the secrets. Like, I just don't mind giving away all the secrets, I guess, because I was a student for so long, and that's so frustrating to be so close to the answers, right? Like, just tell me why the color, just tell me what, Maggie, don't even start. Like, just tell me where exactly how to draw this thing. Like, I just wanted straightforward. And I think that's why I teach in such a straightforward way. Right. Like, we don't have time I don't want anybody guessing. Let's just do it this way. Let's get to the answer part.
Really?
So we can start.
And I don't do anything magical. I really don't.
Well, the end result looks magical.
I just use tools. That's all. And it's everything I've picked up along the way and just kind of dibble dabble and make it my own. But I don't do anything that I don't think, it's not like I'm reinventing the wheel or any of that. It's all stuff that's been, I just use my tools. So.
I know. What, for people that are starting, excuse me, from scratch, who cannot draw and they want to draw, and they're like thinking like, there's no way I could ever be that good. What do you know from your experience that could help them get over that fear, to assure them that maybe they could try it, or it would be worth a try?
Well, I have a few things, and some stuff is always, I think, very, so if it seems like it's kind of coming from nowhere, I apologize. My brain is scattered.
You're good. So is mine. And I'm drinking, so doubly so.
Yeah, I don't have an excuse like that. I'm just high on life.
You're not alone, sister. There you go.
So yeah. Well, first of all, nobody ever starts a profession and is good at it on day one. There's always a learning curve. I had to take a year's worth of master classes to be a teacher. And even when I went into teaching, I was terrible the first year because classes only got me so far. And then I had to put it into practice. And you have to learn how to, do classroom management, and nothing in practice is ever what you learned in the classroom. And so you have to give yourself that grace that you are a student, you are learning. You're not going to be perfect on day one. You might not be perfect on day 100. You might not be perfect on year one. I mean, you're learning. And I still feel, and I know, I'm still a student. It never goes away. I'm always learning. I still take classes. I still follow people and look at things and wish I could do that. There's days where I feel completely inadequate. And I struggle with that still, where I'll be like, I'm not good enough. Sometimes I feel like a fraud, which is weird. And then I read about another artist. I don't even remember where it was. It might've even been in the group saying they felt like, oh no, it was a Facebook friend of mine. She felt like a fraud, and she's so accomplished. She does these lifelike pastel animal drawings, and she does them for commission. And so she actually gets people that buy them, and she's feeling like a fraud. And I'm like, this is a really common thing that people have no matter where they are in their art journey, whether you're day one or, 5 years. So like any profession, you got to start, you got to go. And, it will take time, but that's like any skill you learn. It takes time, and you do the work, and you put the work in, and then the work pays off. I think sometimes people think that what artists do just kind of magically happens. And I know that when people see my stuff on Facebook, they're probably like, what is she doing in awesome art school? Well, I've been here for almost 3 years.
You've been putting in your time. Yeah.
Right. So what you're seeing is time, classes, dedication. I try to draw almost every single day, even if it's prepping a page. I try to do something creative every single day. Sometimes it's just sketching out something, but that's what I do. And you just get that muscle memory going. And
that is real.
I do find if I step away from art for a while, I'm a little bit rusty when I come back. I mean, I'm not so rusty where I go back to the very beginning, but there are some things where like, oh, I'm really struggling, and I'm using my eraser a lot more than I normally would. So just keeping up that momentum is really important, but, and never giving up. I say that all the time. Don't give up. There are so many times I've wanted to give up in my art journey, just because, like, I remember the first time I drew a 3/4 face. It was hideous. I actually have a picture of it somewhere.
Can we see it? I need to see that. I'm going to need to see that. Oh my gosh. That's insane compared to what you make now, Bryn.
And I keep it. I put everything in art journals, and I keep it because I when I am at my low, I need that reminder of where I've come from, so I don't throw it away. And I like journals because you can store them. I don't have room to store a bazillion canvases and a bazillion art panels and whatever. So I put everything in a journal. And so I have, I mean, it's just,
oh my God, it's so amazing.
I'm working out the kinks, and I about cried. After doing these, I was just like, I can't. They're terrible. And that's number 4. But I just kept going and going over and over. And I did all these within a couple days, just trying again. I remember when I did this one, I thought, wow, that's amazing. And now I look back on it like 3 years later, and I'm like, whoa. So perspective changes too.
Isn't that so interesting and so fun?
Oopsie.
I love it.
Camera's all backwards.
I know. It's really confusing. I know. No, you're doing great.
But anyway, so that's kind of some of my,
those are,
I don't even know. She looks like an alien.
And I'm sure what you're holding up now seems
my camera. I keep going like this.
She does not look like an alien. I think that now a lot of people watching or who will be seeing will look at that, and that's super advanced for them. Like it's all really, really relative.
Right. And I think the reason why it is, I have a background in art, observational, but it's still art.
Yeah.
So I think some of this, that to me is just like, and some people are like, I can't even do that. You have to remember, I do have a little bit of a background.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that they can't get to where I'm at all. It's just that I have like my daughter, she comes to me all the time and she's like, Mommy, I can't, she's 7. Mommy, I can't draw what you're drawing, da 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 da. And she gets down on herself, which is really hard to see when that starts happening in kids.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, you got to remember, Mommy is 45. Mommy's got 45 more years of life to learn these things.
Right.
You're 7. And then she's like, oh, okay. And that just kind of, fuels her little fire for a while. And that's kind of the same thing I look at it too, is that, I am coming to it with a little bit more stuff.
Right.
But I did start at ground zero at once upon a time.
Absolutely. And everybody does. Like everybody does. I think what the only things that are really different is that weird things that actually don't have to do with drawings, like people's ability to see as an artist. Going back to your book. So when my first job, when I graduated from college, I graduated with an anthropology degree, which we've laughed about before because I wanted to be Jane Goodall and like live in the jungle, and I couldn't get a job weirdly. So I had to start back and go back to graduate school. When I went to graduate school, I studied interior design and architecture at the Boston Architectural Center. So that's where my art came from, which was doing computer drafting. We had to learn everything by hand as well. So we had to learn hand drafting, rendering, homes. And I took a couple, I did like a architectural watercolor course, but it was so it was almost ridiculous that I even did that class at the time. But my first job was working for an architect. And I remember I was really, really struggling because you have to draw houses, the outside, but you have to draw these sections and then extract them and draw 3D sections of things. And it was really, really difficult. My brain, I just couldn't grasp it. And he was a super, super nice gentleman. And I worked with it's a very male dominated field, architecture is. And so there was hardly any female women. And he flat out said to me, well, men are born with a better ability to see in 3 dimensions than women are. Oh. And he said it so nicely. It didn't even hurt my feelings, even though it's super super.
Yeah.
But I'm actually gratefully said this, even though it's a completely sexist remark, was what it actually, though, I'll never forget it. What it made me realize, though, was that some people, the way that it wasn't about what you're drawing. It's the way that you're seeing. And that was the first time I understood it's not what your hands are doing. It's what your brain is thinking that your hands are doing. And that was a huge wake up call. So I was like, oh,
well, if you can write your name, you can do art, because really learning the alphabet is learning how to draw. That's the first thing we learn to do, is learn our alphabet and form our A's. And if you think about kids learning that, it's repetition over and over and over. A, B, over and over, and tracing, and and just lots of lines. And then you end up with legible handwriting. And that's that's where we first learn drawing skills, but we don't think of our writing as a drawing skill, but really it is.
Really is.
It really
I never even thought of that before. You're so right. Yeah.
Right. Because how you form your B, you're looking at how the line goes, and you're looking at the curves, and then it doesn't go past the middle line, the little lowercase bump or whatever. And hold on, my daughter wants to say something.
Oh, bring her on.
Can I get another snack?
Yeah, go ahead.
And there's also a Pokemon that I have. That's
okay.
one of my toys.
Oh, that's awesome. All right. Okay. She wants another snack. I'm like, sure. Dinner's in an hour.
Oh, just God.
Look your face.
So been there, right? You're like, open up the fridge, honey. Help yourself. I totally get it.
Watch Pokemon. Good. Yeah. Yes. Just rot your brain on TV. Do whatever it takes right now.
Right. I know. So So just that whole concept of learning to see, and that's why that book that you can see, you're over here, that book that you're talking about, which I know it's totally backwards. It's so weird. It's like mind bending. But I just bought the 4th edition based on your recommendation. I have the, I think, 2nd edition. Now I have the 4th, and I am excited to dive into that. And I did read that when I was like 20. I did read that as well. I think when that came out, it was whoever published that or wrote that really had good marketing, because all these non-drawers, everybody knows about that book.
Right.
And I'm really glad that they did produce that book, because the concepts, and although I wish they would do like a for dummies version, it's so much reading. I want to do like a Karen Campbell, like Fun Fab Drawing. Like, can we just have like 2% of all those words? I would really love to like dumb this down, because it's genius, but there's way too much writing in
there's a lot of it's a lot of science, which is great.
It is, and it's fascinating.
It is fascinating. And I found I have her 4th edition, and then I have her 2nd one, and I actually gave away my 2nd one, bought the 4th one, and then went and repurchased the 2nd one, because there were pieces that aren't in the 4th one that I was like, this is missing, and I really liked this. So,
and just, we're talking, someone asked what book we're talking about. Drawing on the Right Side of the Brain is the book that we're talking about.
Here.
Yes.
It is. 4th edition.
Which is a really interesting book on how your brain perceives what you're seeing, and then how to basically translate that into your drawing, which is basically the exact opposite of my yesterday's interview when I was talking with Linda Levin about creating. And then that's when you're like using it to escape, you're using it only for your joy. This is the opposite end of the spectrum, when you're actually trying to really accurately perceive something that you're looking at, so you can reproduce it on your paper. So art is like, it spans all and everything in between, but which I feel like just as important.
Mixed media is more of that joy thing, because you're kind of, collaging and doing fun stuff with paint and things like that. When you're in the Fun Fab Drawing Club, I feel like that's more, it's still fun and you get joy, but it's very, learning a skill
specific
and how to draw. And what I liked with Drawing on the Right Side of the Brain, the thing that was so eye-opening for me was that how an artist sees in terms of lines and spaces and shapes. And, that never was taught to me ever in school, that you look at lines and how they intersect and where they are on your face or wherever in space. And
I had people say that to me, and it didn't make any freaking sense. Like, I had art teachers be like, don't think of it as a nose, like, it's not a nose. You're not drawing a nose. You're drawing like this, and it didn't make any sense. I was like thinking about it so literally that I couldn't. Now I understand, but I never say those words to my students, because I remember people saying that to me over and over, and it's not helpful to like talk about it like that when you're in the process of learning that. Do you know what I'm saying? It's more helpful to be like, here's the chin line. We're going to move up, and we're going to do another line. We don't need to talk about the lips or the not lips or whatever. Let's just go all the way to basics. This little curvy line. It's a little curvy. You know what I mean? Like, we don't need to write about it. We don't need to analyze it. And, and build it slowly, step by step. And all that stuff comes later, but I don't find some of that to be very helpful when you're trying to learn. But it is fascinating, and those are real concepts. Her concept of turning the face upside down, it's genius. It's genius.
And I would, when I taught for my my classroom, I would use some of the stuff on Drawing on the Right Side of the Brain, just so that get the kids to really see that. And we would do upside down drawings, and when they turned them right side up, they were just like, whoa, they couldn't believe they drew that, because by drawing upside down, they were just the massive lines that they had to kind of copy.
Exactly.
And if right side up, you're looking, flower, and then you just
Right. And so if you are listening or watching and you don't know what we're talking about, there's a famous portion in that book, which when she's teaching portraits, she recommends if you have your reference photo, you flip it upside down. And what that forces your brain to do, because especially if you're doing like a self-portrait or a loved one, because people love to try to draw their loved ones. The problem with that is your loved one so well that you're so familiar with it that you think that you can just start drawing them. You're like, oh, yep, they have eyes and they have a nose, and I've taken face drawing classes, so I know the proportions and all these things. The problem is that you're not, if you want to draw realistically, which is the hardest and to me the least fun thing to draw because it's so much pressure, is that you have to honestly like forget that you know them. You'll be more successful if you have never seen them before in your life.
Right.
And so turning that picture upside down helps. It activates like a completely different part of your brain. So you're no longer drawing from memory. You're actually drawing literally, or it's supposed to force you to draw literally only the lines and the shadows and the values that you're actually seeing. Now, there's a giant learning curve that you have to get to that point. You have to still, start at the sprite level in the Fun Fab Drawing Club. You need some basics before you can jump to that. But right. It's a really interesting exercise because of the way that it forces your brain to really think about things in a totally different way just by taking what you think you know and making it something that you don't know.
Right.
Yeah. So
someone says, don't start drawing upside down. Don't have a school.
I know. Don't worry. I don't. I still like drawing building my drawings, You're going
to do everything upside down.
Yeah. And they're like, no.
Oh.
Hi, Deb. I see you, Deb Dalton. So how does this all, I want to talk about the Fun Fab Drawing Club, if that's okay, Bryn, because the opportunities to get in there are very small and far between. So while doors are open and people actually can join, I wanted someone who has been through it also to speak to what, if as a beginner, why that might be a good place for them to go. If they're a more advanced artist, why might that be a good place to hang out? What would you say to someone who was thinking about joining that?
Well, when I was looking at how to draw faces and people, I really needed the structure of the templates and breaking it down into really simple steps. And that's what I loved about your classes was that they do that. And it's kind of like your books that you have, the fun. Oh, I can't even the books that you have. The first ones.
Yeah. Oh, right. I wasn't even gonna.
Some fella and
the Fun Fab faces, which is like number
one.
Yeah.
The way those are broken down so simply, it was just like, oh my gosh, why wasn't anyone else doing this? It was so what I needed at the time to just kind of like take it, work with it, practice it over and over and over and over, which I did with the 100 Fun Fab Face challenge, which I still think is like the best 100 days that you can invest in your art ever. And go on, and kind of branch off of that. And so those tools were just, I don't know, it was like the best investment I ever made was joining Fun Fab Faces group or Fun Fab Drawing Club.
I know everything's Fun Fab. I'm really sorry. I just really like those words, obviously. Oh, that's amazing. You joined, I think, right when I started in like 2018 or 19. I
joined right when you were in the middle of the 100 Fun Fab Faces. You were doing, I joined February 19.
No, 18? I think 19. It was 18. I think that's when the challenge was. Or maybe it was 19.
I think it was 19. See, COVID has everything.
I know. Seriously. I
a
know.
year ago? Was that 2 months ago? 2 days ago? I don't know.
But it has been a long time.
But yeah, I guess it was 2.5 years ago. So that would be 2019. It seems like it was more than that. But yeah, it was 2019 is when I started that. And I just love that you used a pencil. I love that you used an eraser. I love that you got simple. I love that you just broke everything down super simply. I had taken other art classes before online, and it was just kind of like instructors throwing stuff at the paper. And again, it was almost no different than being in an art class in college where you're just like, wait, what are they doing? And then I even had an instructor that was like, don't use a pencil, don't use your eraser, just do it intrinsically. And I hated everything I drew because I was like, I can't use an eraser and I hate this and I'm screwing up. And then it's like, well, why not? I mean, where's the rule that you can't use an eraser? Where's the
right?
Like I'm not in a contest, so I need an eraser. There's times I erase my paper raw. I still do.
And like, who cares? That's what I want to know. Like, who is here that cares if I'm using an eraser?
Right.
You know?
Right. And so that's just kind of, and that's what I liked about your clubs is that it was like this, who cares? Do what works for you. And, here's all your tools, go nuts. Here's all, and I just liked that. That's what I needed.
It worked. Well, and thank you. And I'm so glad that it's helped propel you. Although I know that you do also take classes from a lot of people, and I do too. I actually just bought a new class yesterday. Thank you very much. So I'm just like you.
I love finding time to do it.
I know, that's what I'm like buying this. I'm like, this is never gonna happen. I'm buying it just in case it actually does. But I
buy it just to see what mediums they used, and then I'm like, oh, okay,
I got it. I'm not gonna lie, that might have crossed my mind. But I just to reiterate, because go back to what you were saying before, how like you are still learning, and I am that way too. And I seriously, like, I live for it. And I love to challenge myself and to try to emulate other artists and use different references and talk to my artsy pals and say, like, what are you using for that? Because it's all part of growing. And I also never stop. I never stopped learning. And I think when I do, that's like so sad.
And I think something that's like important too is when I did and when I still do, because I just finished that one, but that was in another club. But I do try to follow exactly what you are doing.
Yeah, you're a good student, and I'm the same way.
And even when sometimes I'm thinking, maybe I should do this instead. I'm like, nope, I'm here to learn. I'm going to just, do it her way and then take what I've learned and try it with a spin or whatever.
I'm exactly the same way. I feel like, and also, if you don't mind me tangenting off that for a second, I think that following the lessons exactly, because that's the same kind of student that I am, and even on the ones that I don't want to be following, it's kind of like just shut up and follow it anyways. I find I get, and it doesn't mean watching them, I mean you drawing along or painting along. Because you're like, I don't know if it's because it's physically like you're doing the muscle memory, you're making the connection between your hand and your brain, even if you don't enjoy it, you're learning it kind of whether you like it or not, because you've gone through the experience of creating it, that when then I turn the video off and I get a new piece of paper, whether I like it or not, that lesson has now influenced my decisions. It's influenced even, and that could be like doing something I hated, so I know not to reach for that tool or not to do the highlighting in that place. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't have to be all the right things. You can learn a lot of wrong things. I learned so many things from doing things wrong that I'm like, I'm never gonna do that again. Like, I know not to do that now. I mean, that's all part of it, and that includes doing lessons that aren't maybe your favorite,
right. And I think that's just really huge, is that when you are taking art lessons is to try it the instructor's way. Of course, there's leeway with that, but I don't want to get enough. But what I'm saying is, like really, like that's what I did is I was like, I am going to try it Karen's way. I'm going to sit and I'm going to do these 100 Fun Fab faces. I'm going to take that theme for the week and do 5 faces. Well, first I did the first face your way, exactly. And then I did the rest of the days, the other 4 days. I took the concept and did it with the same tools, but just my faces. And which was that practice over and over and over.
And that was the point of the whole thing was to do exactly that. Yes.
Right. And the difference between, well, I can show you because I have them here. Was that 100 Fun Fab Faces is in the drawing club, right? I'm sorry. I'm part of all 3 of them. So I get confused.
Yeah, no. So what I did, Bryn, is that because some of those lessons for that series were so good, I actually brought them into the drawing club and I incorporated it into the larger curriculum there. So they're also in there as an entire challenge. So if people want to do them that way, so they're both ways, but the ones that were relevant, like, cause have the stages set up. So it's like the baby beginners start at stage 1 and 2 and 3.
And those tiers weren't there when I first joined.
Right. That came later. Afterwards. Right.
That came later. And so when I saw those tiers, I'm like, oh, okay.
So when you join the Fun Fab Drawing Club, you can
tier 1.
Yes, you can do both. You can start at stage 1, or if you're like, I'm dying to do the challenge, you can actually do the whole challenge right there too.
But I'm just saying, like, don't jump ahead to try to do something super advanced and then get frustrated and it all falls apart.
Yes. And there is a curriculum now after you join that is built in. There's 6 classrooms and you follow them in order. Order. If you're new, don't deviate. Do them first, and then go do the challenge. And what's cool about having the challenge in the drawing club too is a lot of that stuff's not on YouTube, like all the references and all the last 8 people were pooping out. So I did them all time lapsed on YouTube. All those real time videos are still in the drawing club. They're only there.
I really love the real time. When I'm on YouTube, it gets, the speedy thing. And I'm just like, wait, stop, pause. And then there's usually a voiceover and it just, the detail that goes into the why and the how and everything that's in the clubs is just so much more beneficial than what you get on YouTube.
Yeah. Well, I don't edit anything out.
Right. YouTube, I feel like is very surface, whereas the classrooms are depth.
Yes.
So, yeah.
The irony is that the editing is so fancy on YouTube and it strips away all the content. And then in the clubs, the editing is 0, but all the depth is, we're drawing together in real time.
What I like about your drawing clubs too is that I am watching you in real time draw these faces, make a mistake, erase, draw, erase, and then you're, talk like, why aren't you working for me? Or whatever, the little dialogue that happens with every single artist.
Right.
And that we all see that and we're doing it along with you and we're making our own mistakes but it's like, it's okay. Karen's doing it too. And she's accomplished. And
oh God, I did everything in. Yes.
Yeah. It's so encouraging to see that because when you throw your stuff out for the whole world to see on Facebook, they don't see that stuff that goes into it. Like I did a piece today and I went and grabbed my matte medium and instead I accidentally grabbed gesso because it's the same exact white bottle and I dumped gesso all over my beautiful girl.
Yep.
And I was like, oh my gosh, I should have not done this. And I'm fixing and I'm band-aiding and everything's just falling apart. And I was just like, and then I throw my final piece up there and everyone's like, wow. And it's like,
oh my gosh, right?
See the headache.
See all that stuff.
They didn't see the big blob of gesso that went.
I know. Well, it's so crazy that you brought that up because that whole Mod Podge move that I do where I seal in the middle of a project, that's my signature hamburger special sauce. That first time I did that was because I did exactly what you just said. I accidentally doinked it in the middle of a girl's face. I took pictures and I was like, or like, oh, I was like freaking out. And then that crazy accident, literally right across that face, became the gateway to. I published a book on that freaking thing. I just had a whole workshop based off. I mean, I've been doing it for years.
Gesso,
but, yeah, don't do that with gesso unless it's clear gesso. But I mean, I think it's just like that just brings up a whole nother thing, which too is like, let that shit go. Like you never know. It doesn't matter. Like it doesn't matter. Like
and at the end of the day, it's all a piece of paper. And if it really, really gets ruined, you can just slap dab another sheet of paper over the top. If it's in an art journal, I've done that before where I just like covered it up with another collage and started over.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Usually what I end up doing, I actually end up liking better.
I know. Oh my God, I have so many pages that I look at. I'm like, had I not made that really crappy page, I never would have collaged over it. And then this thing sitting there now wouldn't be there. And then we wouldn't be having this conversation. So like, it's all good. I have to comment, there's a little on the side here. I noticed there's a little chatter about using grids. Denise, I love this question. Let's talk about this, Bryn.
Let's talk about grids.
Let's talk about grids. So this is a great question. And let's totally talk about
Where
tools.
is it? I don't
sorry. Does it? Can you see
here it is. Is it a bad thing to use grids? Well, I guess I'm going to prison.
I know. No, you're fired, Bryn.
You're fired.
Kicking you out. No. You want to take this one? You love a grid.
I do.
And actually, before you talk about grids, can we, for those that are watching who aren't familiar with your current work, why don't you show them a little bit of what you do? I've realized we haven't actually shown any of your pieces yet.
You want to see current stuff?
I'll any of your whimsical journal music girls. I want to see. I never tired.
Here's one that's just sitting.
Oh, your little fairies. Yes, your fairy journal.
My fat fairy. Oh, I don't want to say that. That's not. Sorry, I didn't mean to be offensive. I love them.
You do love them. That's why you're
my womanly fairies, my juicy fairies.
Your fluffy fairies.
My fluffy fairies. I already offended half the people, and I didn't mean to do that.
No, you love them. You have a whole series of these beautiful fluffy fairies.
Do. And I love, oh my gosh, I love drawing curvy female figures, and they're just so much fun.
Well, I think that needs to be your class, Bryn. Just saying.
Right. Which I always use a reference. So these do not just come out of my head magically from the sky. And then here's one I'm currently, I don't know if you can see the pencil, but I'm currently etching her.
Super light, but I can make it out. What is the base? Is that an illustrated book and that with gesso on it?
So it is a William Foster Chinese painting book that I bought used for 99 cents at Goodwill.
Yes.
And I just gesso over the top. Sometimes I add paint like I did on the background here. I added, these are not fairies. This is before I got into fairies.
So just naked women.
Yeah.
I know that's like ridiculously stunning.
So I don't mean, again, if I'm offending anyone with naked women, sorry.
We're all naked women.
I try to be tactful. But anyway, too late. But anyway, yeah. And then my whimsical women is in a, hold on a second. It's over here in a cupboard.
We will wait.
Here it is. I just had to reach over. Sorry, my cover is, I gessoed it and it curled and I can't get it to uncurl. So this is a violin book, a Wolfgang violin book. Again, I found one at Goodwill and now I just scour the internet for used ones and I buy them when I find them. Yes. And I put gesso and beige acrylic paint down and then I draw these. Boy, the camera is just so wonky.
I know it is. It really is.
It's all backwards.
Your faces are just absolutely ridiculously stunning.
So yeah, and I just do it with a Tombow marker, which I paint on with a here, maybe if I do this. Oh, here we go. I paint on I like draw it on a plate and then paint it on with water and then Indian ink, Copic markers. Which you said not to use Copics on acrylic. I just use it for the eyes. I haven't had any problems with it eating away anything. but it's probably because it's just such a minimal.
I was gonna say you're just barely touching on there.
There's the last one, which you can see I've already morphed into.
Is that Rihanna? She looks just like Rihanna.
No, it's not. It's just this picture on Unsplash. And
So
yeah,
beautiful.
I never tried to. I have one of these where I was trying to do realistic women.
No, I don't enjoy it either.
You just don't look like them sometimes. And I'm like, and then I start doubting myself as an artist.
Well, I mean, I understand. I think it's for me personally, drawing super realistic portraits is the least satisfying and fun thing to do. I can do it. I don't enjoy any of it.
Very technical.
It's just all the pressure. Like, did you nail it? Did you nail it? Did you nail it? Is it perfect? Is it perfect? And I honestly have no interest in that level of I just don't care, I guess, as much. I would much rather. I actually really like it when they don't look like the reference, because then I've made it my own, accidentally, on purpose. Then it's mine. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
That brings me so much joy.
This last person, I have used, I think now 3 different times.
Yes.
3 different things.
Which is a really fun challenge. I just did that for a Celtic Collective lesson as well.
Here she is really again in this one.
Yes.
So, and she's somewhere. Oh, and she's in your floral sketchbook. Oh my gosh, my favorite thing.
Oh yes. I totally forgot about
everybody
that.
Buy this.
I'm so glad you enjoy that. Which is
I
so
love
fun.
it. I wish you had it in different colors, pink paper, like light pink, tan.
I can make that happen, my friends.
I know. Do I get commission for giving you the idea? Just kidding. And then
you just need to come and teach this class. You can.
This is the first time I used it. So again, same girl, different ways. And then I actually have another idea in my head right now where I want to use her again.
Do it.
I figure, I draw her out. I use a grid.
Yeah. The grid has been around since the beginning of time.
Well, Da Vinci used a grid.
Exactly. That's what I mean.
Van Gogh used a grid.
Yes. It's not a new.
It's not a new thing, and it's not something they even got rid of. It's not like, oh, I'm past the grid now. Bye-bye. No. I was cheating. Yeah. No, you can see old original sketchworks of them where they still have their grid lines in there. And so it's again, a tool. Why not? And the kind of art I wanted to do was more, I call it kind of whimsical realism, I guess. It's not purely whimsical. It has little
realistic pieces to it. Our faces are super realistic, but then
the realistic proportions are there, but then there's kind of the line play and the color play and all of that. And that's a style that I've really liked. If you asked me 3 years ago where I wanted to be, this is just kind of how it evolved with my lessons that I've taken and all of that with you and everywhere else. And so I don't even know where I was going with this thought. I was like,
the grid method.
Well, the grid. And so when I started using, what actually got me into the grid was when you were doing your quadrant method. Back with those figures where we drew a figure where we copied the figure and then we kind of did it our own way. And I was like, oh yeah, the quadrant, the grid. And it kind of jogged my memory about that. And I was like, I wonder if I use a grid on faces, what I can do with this. And that's what I use. I use the grid. And then once I draw it out on the grid, I have that grid. And I just, do my carbon paper copy. I'm giving away all my secrets.
You're not. You're helping all these people learn to draw.
I'm helping everyone. I just want them to know. You're getting an inside scoop here on what
well, that's why we're having and that's why we're having this conversation. It's like, look, guys, look how you get here, Well, and then
I was reading more and more about it because I was talking to you about this before we went live. My aunt, who can also draw, she was saying she had to use a grid and she was really, really struggling because she didn't feel like she was a good artist because she was using a grid. And she thought real artists don't use grids. And I was like, no. That's not true. You don't have to just whip it up out of the blue.
Right.
we all use tools, just like in your clubs, you have the face template, and we start with a face template, and we go from there, and that's a tool. And so even with whatever you got at the end, it was just a tool to help you get there. I mean, every profession uses a tool. And you don't sit there like, we were talking about welding. It's like, who welds without tools? Who welds without, or who does architecture without tools? Oh, you didn't draft that house out of the sky,
Right.
No, I used a tool.
You have rulers, and you have, a drafting table with a parallel bar that goes up and down, and a triangle.
Somehow we feel like art has to be this magical thing that just kind of, I just made it out of my mind. And that's not how it works for probably, I mean, there are some really genius people, like the 0.01% that be able to do that, but most artists don't.
Well, I think also that I'm like, I always laugh that I have like no left part of my brain. Like I literally does not, like I can't count past 3, and like I can't, like there's certain things that like I feel like it's missing. Like there's things I can't do. And then my husband, we always joke, has like no right side of his brain, where he's like such an engineer. And so we always laugh, like when we got married, we like came together and like formed like one brain. But the reason I bring that up is because I we'll laugh a lot about how different people just think really differently depending on if they're really right brain or left brain. This goes back to that book. And I think for a lot of people that have sort of a more left brain tendencies, where they are much more concerned about, and by the way, there's no positives or negatives. They're just different, right? So, but I do find that students or people that are more left brain tend to be more worried about perfectionism. They tend to be a little bit more worried about perfectionism. They want to be things straight. They like to be things right. Like whimsical feels a little insecure. And this is like sweeping generalizations. I'm just talking really broadly here. But so something like a grid for really heavy left brain artists is fantastic. That really helps you to get where you need to go. There's absolutely nothing wrong with doing that. Like you do whatever you need to do if you're having a great day and you bust your grid out, you draw your grid out and and that makes you have an awesome time and your drawing looks awesome. I can't think of a single negative chunk to that situation. That is awesome.
Right.
I that's amazing. Who cares? If you want to use a ruler, use a ruler. If you want to use a stencil, use a stencil. Who cares? Like literally in my school anyways, I literally could care less. I personally, because I lack my entire left side of my brain, I don't like a grid. To me, it makes me like feel slow and clunky and awkward. And like, it trips me up, you know what I mean? So that's fine. I just don't use one. But I understand that people's brains work really differently, and it's super cool.
And there's other tools that don't make sense to me. There's some tools out there where they're trying to draw faces, and they have the oval for the head and then a separate circle for like I don't know if you've seen that.
Or they'll have a circle and then like
it's all circles and weird things, and I'm like, I don't understand this, and they're breaking it down in weird ways, and that's how they start all their pieces, and it works for them, and I just am like, can't do it. It makes no sense to me.
And that's fine. Like it doesn't, again, it also like doesn't matter. You just need to find something that connects and works for you, and then continue on doing that.
And these people are using these tools, and they're accomplished artists, and they're still relying again on tools. When it comes down to it, there's tools. And so I don't don't be afraid to use them. That's what they're there for. They've been there for 800 years, 1,000 years. I don't know. Even your drawing instruments are tools. That's the whole point of inventing all these wacky water soluble this and permanent that, and things that take a long time to dry and things that take a quick time. Like everything is a cheat in its own way, and everything is that's why it doesn't matter. It's like whatever it gets to. This is not a contest. We're all grown ass adults. There's no report cards. Like we're all doing this for joy. So it's all good. Right. And then I see that like people that do realistic portrait drawings actually will take a photo.
Oh, yes.
And draw it. And they get paid lots of money.
Yes. Oh,
What?
totally. When I was taking architectural rendering in college by a professional architectural renderist, he would take a photograph and like take a projector and trace the outlines of the building. He was not eyeballing anything. He would trace it, and that was his job. You know, like as an artist. And so how could it possibly be not okay for us who are just doing this for fun to not use tools?
Right.
You know? So fine, it's all good.
Right. And then your classes provide lots of tools.
Yeah, and I do love that stupid quadrant method. See, the quadrant method is my lazy grid. That's what that is. That's a grid, but for lazy people, because I like a shortcut. Like I don't want to draw all those extra squares that no one's drawing. So that's what the quadrant method does.
Very meditative.
I know. See, that's your left brain, and I'm like, oh, this order and straightness is so boring.
A little bit of procrastination. I'll just grid it out and procrastinate because my right brain is like, oh, okay, whatever.
I know. I hate those grid lines, but that's fine. I don't care. I just don't use them. I'm laughing at Monica's fart. Can I just tell you, Monica, that I made some amazing new new sweatshirts with some fart. Were you there for the fart?
Yes.
The fart. Okay, so you know what that is. Okay. So if somebody doesn't know why Monica's shouting fart, okay, just in case, Monica, I don't want you to be alone here in your comment. That stands for fun, attitude, repetition, and technique. And that's at Awesome Art School how we become awesome artists. But I made some seriously awesome swag that's on my Etsy shop. I had to make some new sweatshirts based on this awesome fun
acronym.
That
reminds me, you are like the most real person on the planet. Like
me?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Whoa. Like what are you talking about?
Sorry. Maybe Monica is too. I don't personally know her, but you are. And so that's another thing is like I feel like I'm very upfront, face value. You get what you get. I don't throw a lot of fluff in anything, and so you're the same way, and I so appreciate that. And it's like you're so real, and you're not fluffing stuff up and making stuff super complicated. And you are who you are, and I just really like that about your classes too, is that you're not trying to pretend to be something you're not. So
thank you, Bryn.
That's authentic.
That's super nice. I know I am who I am, like on and off camera, on and off whatever. I once went a few years ago, I went out. I had like a blind date with a woman in my town who was like, hey, I'm an artist. Do you want to meet up for lunch? And I was like, oh, okay. And we sat down in a restaurant, and I'm not kidding you. She literally was like,
oh my gosh.
And stared at me. And I was like, well, what are you doing? She was like, Maggie's, are you asking to tell Maggie? What are you doing?
Aww.
What do you have? Is that salad dressing? Oh my God, hold on. Sean, Maggie is chewing on a thing of full salad dressing. Can you just She's like, we had a salad from she had that whole thing in her mouth. Thank God has the lid on. That's my salad dressing. I'm assuming the kitchen table.
You are naughty. You are the worst dog ever.
Oh, there's
I was like, why do you have a whole salad container in your mouth?
So she had salad in her mouth?
She had a salad dressing container. Like I got a salad takeout, so it was like the little container of salad dressing. She just had the whole thing in her mouth. I'm like, what are you doing?
That's hilarious. Oh, I love dogs.
So yeah, so this woman is staring at me, and I was like, I was so uncomfortable. She was like, oh, I was just trying to see if you're the same way like on YouTube that you are in real life. And I was like, okay, that's so creepy. And I was like, I don't know how to be anything other than I am. Like what you see is what you get. I'm sorry if that offends you or if that's good. I don't know.
Well, and that's the thing is like sometimes I'm like really blunt, and then I'm like, oh, I'm sorry.
I know.
Did I say that out loud? Oops,
I know. I made sweatshirts with fart on them today, and I'm like, this is going to like offend literally like half of the people in my world. I hope they know that it's all good. It's all for art education. That's why it really works. And
yeah,
can I
used to teach middle school, so it's like my sense of humor is right there.
I know. Do you know what I have? Can I just show you? This is so dorky. I just have to show you this one design. This one design because it exemplifies kind of this one didn't end up making it, but that the whole attitude, the attitude portion of the FART acronym, and just like being, like you were saying, like just like forgive yourself, like don't be so hard on yourself. It doesn't accomplish anything to be mean to yourself. Like it doesn't, there's no upside to that. It just, it doesn't, because it could result in you throwing out your piece, and then great, then you never figured out how to solve the problem you were just having, right? Or you stopped doing the lesson, so then you just missed out by not doing the lesson, or you never, like there's so many bad things about stopping when it gets difficult, instead of just figuring out how to make it work. Like you learn 10 times more by working through things that aren't well than just by stopping. It's not like you will learn twice as much. You learn everything by powering through those mistakes and the mishaps, and that's how you figure stuff out.
And repetition too. I think some people think that they draw it once and then they're going to magically get to, point B, and you have to, draw. And I like how with all your lessons you bring out that template. You start with the template of drawing the face, and so we just go back to the basics for every single one, and that's huge.
I still do it for every single face ever. I don't think I will ever not draw those guidelines.
Well, and that's something that I get in your lessons that isn't out there and everywhere else. Some people, they might get that as like, one of those intro lessons where you draw the basic face, and then they watch the instructor go on and magically create these faces, and it's like, wait, what? Wait, how?
Yeah.
And with you, it's like, okay, here, and even with references, here's our reference. This is the girl we're going to create, and this is what we're going to draw. And you start with a template, and everyone can make that connection. Really, I just feel like it's a very easy connection, and it's very simple and straightforward. There's nothing fluffy about it. It just it works, and it's just keeping it simple, which is what it is. And then, like to get to my level is I still start at that simplicity, but then I've just built on that.
Yes.
What I've learned in other things.
That was a great example.
It's kind of little simple squares all put together.
Right. Well, that's one thing I thought was super interesting about doing the Whimsical Women of the World series, was that every single face, except for the, what's her face? The one with the big neck rings. Because her face was tilted up.
I did not do her.
Hermes. So everyone except for her and the Mexican baby, which were dead last, but even the Asian
do that one either.
man,
I'm like,
but all of those had the same black, white, Asian. It did. Everyone starts with the same face, and it was such a kismet moment to just doing face after face after face, and they all ended up so differently, but they all start out exactly the same way, which is like
I used to magical. When I draw the oval template, I would measure with my ruler halfway. Because I found that even when I eyeballed it, my eyes would be like, you almost always, it's like a paradox. Your brain wants to put those eyes higher.
Right. It does.
Because that's what you think you are seeing.
Right.
It's not true. And so, anyway, I would get my tools out and I'd be like, okay, here I go, and make sure like a fifth, or a third, or whatever the eyes go and the nose and everything. Until now, I don't need to use my ruler. I can just, use my hands and whatever. But that I had to go back to a ruler to doing that because my brain constantly wanted to move those eyes up.
And that's fine. Yeah. And that's okay. Yeah.
And it's totally okay. Yeah. And I think that people need to not be afraid don't be afraid to start at the beginning.
Oh my God.
We all started at the beginning. And I think some people have great ideas, but the skill is lacking, and you'll get there, just go for it. You'll get there.
And follow the videos, because that's why follow the videos, please. Because that's like, that's why they're there.
These videos are huge. Everything is there that you need to learn, like the value scale. I mean, I remember when I first learned about shading, I just thought things were white, black, gray. And I didn't realize that when you looked at shadows, there were like 10 different types of gray in that shadow. And so that's all the stuff you learn. And then when you put all of that into practice, all those basics into practice, then you can get to where you're doing these other more accomplished pieces.
Absolutely.
But yeah, do the classes, do the work, do the repetition. Think of it as like, exercise, just practice, and muscle memory.
But fun exercise. That's the best part.
It's a lot more fun. I would rather work out with a pencil than an actual weight.
I would as well.
What how many calories I burn moving the pencil around.
I know. That's awesome. Bryn, thank you so much for shooting this shit with me tonight and hanging out.
Even tonight for me, it's only 5.
Oh yeah, I'm so tired.
What are you eating this afternoon?
Oh, I know. It's probably dinner time there for you almost. I'm going to share based on this talk of repetition and fun and attitudes and techniques. Can I show my fart sweatshirts to you guys? Or do you have a minute? I'm going to try to share my screen. Is that okay? I don't know. I've never done this with also another person on. So I'm going to just try it because I just feel like to reward myself today, I worked on these ridiculous sweatshirts, but they all have fart acronyms in them. So I just feel like you need to see them. And I don't know how to do it. Oh, here we go. Okay. I don't know. Oh, these are in my Etsy shop already. I don't even.
Denise is on a treadmill listening to us. Go, Denise.
Go, Denise. You got this, girl. Work it. I didn't even know they were in my Etsy shop. I don't even know how this technology works. I just like push buttons. I'll do it from here. I think you get a cooler view. Okay, I'm going to share my screen, I think. I don't know how I do it with so many people, but I'm going to do it anyways. Share screen. Okay, I'm going to do this one. I think it'll replace. Oh, there we go.
Oh, that's cool.
Okay, so this one has a bunch of nasty ink on it, but it says, "Oh well."
I love it.
And that's a little hard to see on but see, talk about attitude, right?
That's what I did with my gesso.
Exactly. You're like, oh shit. Oh well.
Yeah. Oh well. It was
it looks cooler in different colors, but I really had a fun time. But then on the back it says
rock the A and fart.
Rock the A and fart, my friends. Because you got to. You got to just have a good attitude about it. It's all good. Because that attitude is what gets you through all the disasters.
It is.
So that's one of them. And Jeanette, I'm laughing at the Etsy link that you listed because the one that you had yesterday had Cool Mama Crafts, which is like 5 years old, and then this one has a market in it. Is this a real link? Where are you getting these links? Market/Karen_Campbell. Is that a link? I've never seen that link before in my life. I'm like laughing. So then there's a t-shirt version. Oh, and actually I did this one a little bit differently because when I did the same one as this, and I put it on a t-shirt, these were right at the boobs. So it looked like these big black boob stains. So I had to slightly tweak the t-shirt. So I made it not like that. And then I put it in the middle. So like the orange one. Oh, well, how fun is that? A little ink stain. And then you can paint in it because it's already dirty. And then I made this one, which is I love farts. Because someone was saying that in the comments about how she should have a sweatshirt. I already do. Thank you so much. And did I have another one? Maybe that was it. Okay, it felt like I made 100, but I really just made 2. But anyways, so those are some new fun things based on the fact that we've been having a lot of fun this week. How do I stop sharing? We've been having a lot of fun this week with, look at that view.
I'm like,
look how fancy we are now.
You can see my mess behind.
Oh, sorry. I'll go back.
No, you're okay.
I just push random buttons. I don't know what I'm doing ever. I just
craft room.
Push things. Was that your trash room or your craft room?
No, craft room.
Oh, is it? Now I need to see it.
Here's I have this new rolling desk. So here's my art table. Ooh, I don't know. There's all my junk.
Oh, yes.
My entire supply of Copic markers sitting there.
Yes. Bryn, can I tell them how many you have?
Okay.
She has every
I spent 3 years.
Trust me, I know. I don't know if I have everyone. I'm sure I have almost everyone, but it took me like 10 years. Yeah.
Well, and I have a Blick's art supply store 10 minutes away from me. So I have 2 10 minutes away from me. One in Portland, one in Beaverton. So it's like it's calling my name.
Yeah.
So every time like I got my little like monthly stipend from my husband, I would like go and splurge, and if you buy like 6 or more or something, you get a discount price. So I'd be like, ooh, 6. And
oh
then
my gosh.
every
years go by.
Yep.
I know they're very expensive. There's how many Copic markers are there? I think there's 328.
358.
There's 58.
Yeah, I thought.
I thought there was
I have an app that
328.
tells me.
There's a lot over 300. I know. That's
Yeah.
my goal is to catch them all.
Right.
At some point.
Yeah, I love them. I wish I used them more. I do when you teach them.
Yeah. Well, I go through like phases, like that Whimsical Women of the World, that was 16 weeks. And that's all that I
I loved that series. That was fantastic.
I did too. I could do that every day for my whole life.
Right.
I think.
Right. And I had no idea what I was doing. I just followed your lead and I was like, okay, I'm going to pick this color.
Oh my God. I know. And that's how I knew you were the only one. Cause you were like, Karen, what's the third skin tone after the thing? I'm like, I don't know. I was just grabbing colors. You're like, I need to know. I'm like,
I don't know what I'm doing. I really don't. And then it somehow worked out, but I don't know how it did.
That series was amazing. Well, what's funny? Someone asked me, and we'll wind this down. I think you and I could talk for like 1,600 years. Someone just, I don't know, like 2 days ago on YouTube was like, it was such a poignant, thoughtful question. I was really taken aback because normally people are like, like, you're annoying or whatever. And this person was this very thoughtful question. She was like, I forget how she worded it, but it was like, do you feel sad or ever wish like, or feel like constrained basically because you can't work on your own art because you're always teaching, but she said it much cooler than that. That was the gist of it. And I was like, actually, what I love about teaching so much is that it keeps me because I have students who have never drawn a straight line in their entire life, and I have students or people that are in my sphere that at least like are going to be drawing along with me who are super advanced. And I was like, I have to stay 2 steps ahead of Bryn.
Like, I'm always challenged. I am so surprised that you can do it so quickly. I am the slowest artist. I really am. I'm really slow, and I'm really and I know. I guess it's not a contest, right? It's not a speed race. But you draw these amazing things so fast, and I'm like, this takes me like so long.
Okay.
And,
that's the beauty of the pause button, right? It's like that's what's magical about online learning, actually.
But no, I mean, here I am 3 years into this, and I have not canceled my subscription because I feel like I'm, above it all or whatever. I am still in it, and I'm still learning, and I'm still getting a lot out of what you are offering, even to this day. The only thing that's keeping me from doing everything is time.
I know.
I need to clone myself and have 10 more of me doing everything I want.
Right.
So,
well, that means the world to me. But also the upside of having to stay 2 steps ahead of everyone else is that I live for it, and I live for doing more and more challenging things. And that is where I get satisfied, and that's where I am challenged. Is like, you know what I mean? So it's like I'm doing it for me and you, and then I have, great stuff for beginners who have never done anything before.
Right. And I think your lessons are really good at that. Like, it has something for everybody in it. If you're a beginner, you can do this much. If you're an intermediate, you can take it this far. And if you're advanced, you can, do whatever. So I just love that it always starts with the basics. And so then what's someone like me who's beyond basic, I can just build on that. But when I was back basic, I just did the basics. And then I was like, wow, I did it, you know? And it was just doing basics over and over and over until you can, you know, move on from that. But you always start at the basics.
Always, no matter how advanced you are. I know it always goes back to that. Well, this has been a really amazing conversation, Bryn. I can't thank you enough. I have to get you a fart hoodie to say thanks.
Yeah, I'm gonna put in my color request. I have to look at the options. I love color. So.
Okay, well, I made sure that there's 9 of that.
Super funny that I'm doing these musical girls mostly in black and white because I'm such a color person.
Yeah.
And it's like, and then I land on black and white sketches. How does that happen? I don't know. It's
I love a monochrome. I love a black and white though. I do it. There's something very powerful about having it stripped down to just values.
Right. And again, that's just something that I just went with it and followed that rabbit trail.
Yes.
Like, oh, okay, well. And sometimes when I do stuff in color, I'm like, ew.
Yeah. It's all good. I saw your sheet of paper with your 89,000 ideas on it.
I do, and I have more to add. Can you believe it? I got more ideas today, and I have more to add, and it's like, geez, it just never ends.
Oh, well, we'll have to have another sit down, and you can share those with me, and we'll figure out how to use them. You know, do you like how I'm just going to take your ideas and use them? I just know you have good ideas in there, and I'm trying to get you to teach, so...
I know. Well, and I hope that if I were to ever teach, I could I just hope people have patience with me because it'll be like definitely a learning curve at first. I will have to backstep and you know what I'm trying to say? Like, I don't want to like be, I want to make sure I'm doing a good job.
You will be doing a good job.
Can you tell I'm a little bit of a perfectionist?
That left hemisphere. Get it out. You're so good. You're so good. Well, thank you so much for your time and your cheeriness. And also thank you for showing up every day in the Facebook group and posting and being supportive of other people and, you know, just being a constant.
It is the best art community out there. Hands down. And I can say that because I'm part of lots of art communities. And the Awesome Art School is the most positive, the most loving, caring, genuine, like group of cheerleaders that's out there. I love that group.
Me too.
And even if I'm feeling really down about myself that day, because that's, like I said, it still happens. That group has just been it's just huge. You don't get that in the other groups either. You really don't. I feel like the group's very authentic and other groups are very superficial and that people are in there to gain something or self-promote or whatever. And with Awesome Art School, I just feel like it's almost like this big happy family of artists. And
that's how I feel as well.
Really
I literally live for it.
Yeah, it's like the best art community. That's my opinion. But
I love it. I love it. I don't have time anymore to be anywhere else, but I love the shit out of the Awesome Art School Facebook group.
Yeah,
and I love everybody in it.
It's just amazing. It's just, there's nothing else like it.
Oh, so. Well, you're a huge part of that. And so thank you for being there and being a constant in our world as we go through and grow too. So thank you so much, Bryn. You're awesome. I'm going to hang up now. Good night, everyone. Oh, should we take questions for a second?
Oh, questions.
Just make sure. I forgot. I was in such a love high. I forgot. I'm so sorry. I need another beer. Does anyone have questions for Bryn before we leave? Do you have a minute? I know it's like dinner time there.
I do. My daughter is glued to the TV. She is
okay.
She has her Pokemon. She has her snacks.
Okay.
I am mom of the year right now.
Oh, yeah, you are. I know. I don't even know where my kids are.
I'm going to go get pizza after this because it's like, I don't want to cook now.
I know. That's what I did. I got pizza earlier. I was like, I am not cooking tonight.
What just happened? All this stuff just opened up on my... That is weird.
Oh, hi, Maggie. What are you doing? She's like, you might be done, but now you need to come and play with me. Oh, you guys are so sweet. Thank you for your lovely comments. Where can we learn about how to do grids? I teach the quadrant method, which is grids for lazy people, which is in the Fun Fab Drawing Club.
And then do it every other.
Yes. And I teach guidelines. You can go.
You know what? Let me show one really quick.
Sure.
And I can show you guys what I do exactly because, well, if I find one here. Here's a grid.
Yes. It's literally a grid that you draw on your reference photo, and then you draw the same grid on your paper.
Reference photo. And what I actually do is trace my reference photo so that I actually am seeing the lines and not getting confused by shadows and values and all of that. So I take my, I have a, what's it called? You know, the light box thing, and I trace it on tracing paper like this.
Yep.
Oopsie, it's light. Sorry. And grid it out, number my boxes, and then I draw it onto here.
I'm trying to make you bigger. Oh, that's me bigger. Wait, well, I can't make you bigger. What?
It was just bigger for myself a second ago. There it is.
I'm trying to make you the solo, but I don't know how to.
So this is like when I do faces, I do it by the 1/2 inch.
Oh yeah, see, that would drive me bananas.
If I do figures, I do it by the inch. But yeah, figures are easier to draw than faces for me. I'm not sure why, but
yeah, that's fascinating.
But that's what I do. And then I have this and I keep it as a template. And when I want to use her again in other work, I just, you know, kind of
have it there.
I don't want to draw it again. I already did all that work.
Yeah, that's a lot of work. Yeah.
So that's the grid.
Thank you, Bryn.
Yeah.
Yes.
Bryn's first mini lesson.
I know. I was thinking the same thing. That's so cute.
I know.
That's awesome. You should. I don't teach the flat out grid system, so that could be your first lesson.
Right.
There you go. Just shoving you into it. You like it or not, Bryn.
Here's a pen. So fun. Here's a ruler. Here's a pencil.
Yeah. Oh, awesome. All right. Oh my gosh, my dog is so stinky. Okay. Well, I think that is a wrap. You guys, if you have any other questions, you can put them in the comment section. And we're both in the Facebook group, so you can tag Bryn. I just offer that up. You can just tag Bryn anytime. Let her know.
Blessing. I'm okay.
That's right.
Oh, my phone's pinging away right now.
We are both happy to answer your question. And if you want to come and join the Fun Fab Drawing Club, it is open for enrollment right now. You can just go to awesomeartschool.com.
Yes,
all the clubs are open.
Ever.
You heard it from the girl. She says best thing ever. She's still in it after 3 years, which is so super cool. So thank you for your support, and your continued support helps me keep creating curriculum, keep going, because this is fun never ends. It never ever ends. So thank you guys so much. Have a good night. Bye.